And welcome to day 2 of our CADRE Symposium and a day in the life. My name is Anna Swardensky, and I'm your morning host for start off. Let's get underway with our welcome and housekeeping. So if you don't mind, if you could put in the chat your name and organization that you represent so we can all get to know one another a little bit. Thank you, Norma. You were so fast. And if you don't mind as well, if you could change your Zoom window screen to represent your name and ideally your first name and a dash with who you are, just like Marcia-Cadre, Sherry-SBILC. If you don't mind doing that, that'll help us when we get to our small breakout groups to understand who's in the room with us. In terms of our welcome remarks, those of you who joined us yesterday, as you learned in our opening session, one of the challenges we face is related to communication and how accessible information is to all those who want or need it in times of an emergency or disaster. So here at CADRE, we know that we have not solved the communication challenges fully, but we are committed to doing better. And so today we are offering for this morning session live transcription via both Zoom and Otter AI. I will serve as your access coordinator along with Marcia if you need additional assistance. And I should be at the top of your participants list with the name access-TA Anna. So you're welcome to message me if you have any accessibility or technical needs through today's program. We are recording the session for those who need it or request it for note-taking purposes. And our last accessibility accommodation is if when you are speaking, either in the large group or your small group breakouts, if you could please turn your cameras on while you're speaking, that will help also further our access and communication needs. And so with that, I'm going to turn the rest of today's program over to Marcia Hovey, CADRE's Executive Director. Marcia?
No, not the whole program. Don't make me do that. Good morning, everyone. Let's switch to the next slide. Oh, we're on that. Okay. So let me share my screen. And all right, so for those of you that have seen this already, I apologize, but because CADRE has to have tell at least 5,000 people and have proof that we've told 5,000 people about these two products, we are doing it every day just to try to catch those that are here for the first time, and welcome to all of you. So two things. One is that there is a new app that's put out by California Office of Emergency Services. It's called the MyShake app. On the screen are QR codes if you want to scan those to download the app. What it is an early earthquake warning. So when the app detects the sound waves that happen before the ground starts shaking, depending on how close you are to the earthquake, you'll get a few seconds to 20, 30 seconds that the earthquake is coming, which would allow you to get off a ladder or get away from a glass window or get to some place that's a little bit safer before the ground started shaking. Okay, and then the next.
Earthquake. Drop cover, hold on. Shaking expected. Earthquake. Drop cover, hold on. Shaking expected.
Now, Cal OES wants this put out to the whole community, but they're only putting out the message in English. This is an ongoing problem, but the good news is we can educate in advance. We have folks that don't speak English or it's not their preferred language, explain what this sound is, have them recognize the screen, and then we can work around the fact that it doesn't come in everyone's language. And then the second one is just to let you know that we have a grant from the United Way. We are currently building a library of emergency preparedness resources in at least 7 languages. And we have a new page on our website called cadresv.org/EQ, or you can spell out earthquake if you want to. These are just some screenshots of the 30-minute emergency earthquake training that we're offering now. And it's there will be in-person meetings, Zoom meetings, and then recordings on the website, as well as other written preparedness material. And so if you are interested in either sharing these 2 slides in your meetings to help us, we tell 2 friends and you tell 2 friends and so on to get us to the 5,000 contacts, then we don't have to worry about the contacts anymore. But these resources will be available forever, and the trainings are available in all of Santa Clara County. So if you want to schedule one, or if you want to help us with the script and translate into a different language, we can do that too. We have a script. All you have to do is read it, essentially, and they'll be given that basic earthquake safety information that every individual needs to know in order to keep themselves safe at home, and what to do after to make good decisions. All right, stop share. Next slide. And we're back. So for those of you that haven't been with us the last couple of times, we'll just quickly review that the purpose of our symposium is to involve the community and local government in a discussion of what it's like to be part of any kind of a disaster in Santa Clara County if you can't speak English or walk or understand, or any number of things that are part of the CMIST categories, and I'll cover the CMIST categories in just a minute. We are going to be using a series of personas like we did yesterday, so that there will be individuals that we have created that have different access and functional needs. You will have the opportunity to take on one of those personas and then work through this phase of the disaster that we're going through today as that person, to see what the challenges are, and then we come together as instead of being the persona, being our organizations, and deciding how we might be able to make some of those user experiences at a disaster better. You're all here because no one has all the answers, but collectively we do. And so when we come together, that's what we want to do, is get everyone's opinion. So no idea is crazy, and every opinion is valued, and we're really glad that you're all here to do that. So then we'll be gathering that information and hoping that as we move forward, we can help to improve all of that service delivery. Next slide. So this morning session is 90 minutes long. The personas will be reviewed. Do we have a slide on the personas, Anna? Okay, so and so let's switch to the CMIST categories just to review. It's a little fuzzy, but the CMIST categories: communication, maintaining health, independence, support, and transportation. So the personas have been created to have the individuals experience some of these different CMIST category. You can see in communication, maybe they don't speak English, they don't understand English, they use sign language. For maintaining health, that might be people that need medication and they don't have their medication now, or their durable medical equipment has been lost in whatever the disaster is. For independence, it's making sure that, let me see, pick one. that they have all of the necessary mobility devices. So again, tying into the durable medical equipment, so that just because someone has a challenge from the CMIS category doesn't mean that they can't be fully independent. It just means that they need to have all their equipment in place to do that. So we're going to help them do that. Support, it could be mental health support, any kind of trauma-informed assistance that we might need to provide to everyone that's related to a disaster. And then transportation. So not everyone in Santa Clara County has transportation, and our bus routes don't go everywhere. So there is some planning that needs to happen around how people get from here to there after a disaster happens. Maybe roads are damaged, and so on. Next slide. All right, we're going to be using Jamboards again today. Jamboards are fun, they're easy. What we'll be doing when you go to your breakout room, you will be given a link in the chat. When you click on that link, it will take you to your own personal Jamboard. So in order to see the Zoom meeting and your Jamboard, you'll need to kind of split your screen up a little bit. Make sure that when you're trying to use your Jamboard that you're not trying to use the one in the Zoom, because it won't work. You have to use the one that you brought up from the link. And so if you're not on a desktop or laptop right now, it would be more difficult, which means that you can give us your verbal information. We will put it in the Jamboard ourselves. And then if you and that applies to anyone that's just not comfortable using the sticky notes in the Jamboard, which we'll show you a little bit more when we get into them and you can see them. Next slide. In the Jamboard, a couple things. You can see at the very top of the screen those little rectangles with the arrows on either side of them. That will toggle you between the different screens that we will be using during the discussion. So you can go back and forth if you need to reference something, or you think of an idea that you want to put on one of the other boards. You can always do that and still see what everyone's working on through the screen share. You will be picking the persona that you want to become during each scenario, and then what? And there is a parking lot. The very last slide, as you toggle, is a parking lot. So sometimes when we're talking about one subject, a random idea will come into your head about some other aspect of preparedness that we might want to talk about later. So you can pop those into the parking lot. You can see at the top there that red circle with the line through it and an arrow. It's because we really want to reinforce the fact that you should never touch that button that says clear frame. It will erase everything on your screen, on our screen. So don't touch that. And then finally, the blue arrow at the side of the screen, it's pointing to a little, I don't know what it looks like, a document maybe. It's the sticky note feature. So that's the only feature that you'll need to use. So when you click on that after you have used your link to open up your own Jamboard, when you click on that, it will pop up a screen that allows you to type. And when you're typing, you're going to put in your name and the name of the persona that you're going to be playing. And then you can also change their colors. Something else?
Yeah, and I apologize. I clicked forward too fast, so I'm going to take you back to the personas slide so you can explain personas, and then we'll get into the exercise. My error, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I think we're good. So yeah, we'll explain it again to you when you get in there, but you're gonna be this person. So you're not your organization, you are the person. We'll put you in the scenario, and then you can talk about what would be going well and what would not be going well for you based on your situation. And then We will capture all that. We will compile it. We will share it back to everyone when the symposium is over. And then we will get to work on trying to make some of the recommendations happen. Okay. And now I'm going to turn it over to Cindy so that we can start our scenario.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Cindy, and I am one of the facilitators for our exercise this morning. Some of you joined us yesterday and got to see the first part of an ongoing scenario. So let me just recap that for a second. Yesterday we had a fire in the downtown area, and it happened to be where you live, near where you live. You were asked to evacuate the area. Some of you played along yesterday and took on personas like maybe you were Pedro, who was a quadriplegic, and so you walked through that scenario as Pedro. And how do you get out of your apartment? How do you get to the temporary evacuation point that you were directed to go to? Today's exercise is going to further that same scenario. So we've had the fire, we've evacuated, we've made it to a temporary evacuation point. However, we did. From there, we've been taken to a shelter. We're skipping a lot of stuff. I know a lot of things that we could talk about as far as transportation is concerned and communication and how are we telling people that we're getting them to shelters and all of that. But we only have a certain amount of time to do these things. So let's skip all the way to the fact that we're at the shelter now. Okay, we don't even know if our apartment was the one that was affected. We're still waiting for word on the damage that's been done in our neighborhood. After several hours of sitting around, we find out that the fire indeed did spread to several nearby buildings and including our home, which was completely destroyed. So though we're okay, though you're not injured, you're still in shock, you've lost everything. And now what do you do? So that's the persona, that's the scenario for today. We're at the shelter, the fire's already happened. We figured out that our apartment was involved in it. And now we're sitting in a shelter with nothing, okay? I'm sorry.
Cindy, so we've already gone from the TEP to a shelter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So we are now sitting in a shelter in the persona that you choose for yourself, with those attributes of that personality or that person. And we'll move now to our breakout rooms.
That it does. I'm copying the link.
So in the meantime, I don't know how many of you were in the main room, but Marcia made a suggestion that if you wanted to go ahead and have a little conversation about how you got from the temporary evacuation point to the shelter, to include some of those transportation questions, please feel free to do that. It's not in the slides, and in the slides we are already at the shelter. But if you want to talk about transportation, we certainly welcome any of that conversation as well.
Okay, very good, Cindy. Thank you.
I see that you're recording and
Yes.
you've got your Jamboard ready to go.
Yes.
Okay, you guys look good. Have fun.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Here's breakup 2. Okay.
Cindy,
Let's go with Jeanette. Thank you. Hi, good morning. I'm Jeanette Rosales. I am with Catholic Charities, originally in a community engagement program, but then on to rental assistance and now disaster recovery program with our wildfire recovery program. Thank you.
Welcome, Jeanette. Okay, I think we have Sherilyn with City of San Jose left and Cindy.
Good morning. My name is Sherry Lynn. I'm with the City of San Jose Office of Emergency Management, and I'm having some issues with my video right now, so I will be working on that in our break. Thank you.
Well, we're glad you're here regardless. We will imagine your persona there, your face with your persona. And then Cindy.
Oh, I'm Cindy Stewart. I sent you all here.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for starting my recording, Cindy. Appreciate that.
And let me just tell you, if you feel the urge to talk about the transportation between the temporary evacuation point and the shelter, I encourage you to have that part of the conversation as well.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
We will probably add that into possible challenges that we had to address for ourselves.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. Did everybody see in the chat the link to the
We have a little one who's 15, who's sight impaired with a service dog. We have Robin, who's has had an accident. We have Donald, who has a large pit bull Doberman pet.
I am one of the newest state VALs, so I do a lot of work with voluntary agencies, non-governmental organizations, community-based organizations, and I am still learning my role. So if you have questions, I'm so sorry if I can't answer them right away.
It's okay, Val, we're all learning. We're all
Right.
in this together. And I just want to confirm before we start our session and get into the scenario. Have we met everyone's accessibility needs? Does anyone have any needs before we move on?
Can I interrupt you just for a second, Marisol? Are you recording?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. And do you have your link? You're okay?
Yes.
Okay, I was just checking in on you guys.
Perfect. Thank you, Cindy.
Okay.
Santa Clara County Access and Functional Needs Working Group.
And a good person to have around.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Hong, how about you?
Good morning, I'm Hung, and I'm with Behavior Health Services with Santa Clara County, and I'm with the Disaster Management Branch.
Okay, thank you. Actually, let Cindy introduce herself, because she used to do something and now she does something different. Uh-oh, you're muted, darling.
I'm Cindy Stewart. I used to work for the county, and I'm retired and living in beautiful Vancouver, Washington, where the weather is wonderful, and we welcome you to come and join us anytime you'd like.
Thank you very much. All right, and I am on the CADRE board since it began, and I'm a Red Cross volunteer for 42 years. I do disability integration and health services. And we have Meredith. Tell us a little who you are, please, Miss Meredith.
Good morning, everyone. I apologize. I'm having technical issues, of course. I'm an emergency planning coordinator with the city of Cupertino with a background in emergency management.
Uh-oh, we better not have you have problems.
There's a lot of devices conflicting for demand on my wireless this morning. So yes. I apologize, but I'm happy to be here.
You know, Meredith, you raise an issue, and that is, if this had occurred 5 years before, we would all not be here today. We would not have any of these problems, because we wouldn't be existing. There wouldn't be any of these particular things. All right, thank you. And we have a Kirsten with us.
Hi, sorry, I joined late. My computer wasn't starting.
Oh, that wasn't nice of it. And can you put yourself so we can see your gorgeous face?
I'm not sure my camera's working yet.
All right, that's okay. And where are you from, please? What agency, please?
I am calling in from Thrive Alliance.
That's a new one. I don't know that one.
San Mateo County, they're going to be the VOAD for Santa Clara County.
Oh, Muzzle Tough. That's wonderful. Great. And last, but certainly by no means least, Ivan.
Good morning. It took me a minute to come off mute. I work for Santa Clara County Office of Emergency Management, and unfortunately, I have a meeting I am late for, so that it'll be a short meeting, so I will be coming back, but I'll be
That's all right, Ivan.
observing.
We come when you can. And
Okay, thanks.
yes, and we have two other special faces. Obviously, you've already met our dear Anna. She's here, and our friend Marcia, who saves our butts all the time. All right, so can we have the whole of the whole screen? I only have half of that.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I still love you.
Can you see it now?
Beautiful. So remember that there's been this horrible fire and we've had to immediately evacuate. You have no choice, no time, you're evacuated, and God bless us all, your house is totally gone. You, however, and whoever was living in that house are okay. You were not unharmed physically. So choose your persona, put your name, when you go to that, tell us who you're going to be. That would be helpful. And then we're going to go to the second, let's go to the next page.
Okay.
Please. Okay, so we've picked the persona. Are we all somewhat comfortable? At least we know what's going on with Jamboards. So what's going to happen is you're going to be able to put a sticky note, and then you, in whatever color you choose, you put the sticky note, you put the the persona, and then your name and some reaction to whatever the question is. We haven't gotten to the questions of the morning yet. Marcia's in trouble. Oh, well.
No, Pedro's in trouble.
Oh, Pedro. Okay, Pedro is definitely in trouble. Definitely in trouble. Okay, so the scenario is the same as I have explained, and we're going to have the discussion questions. And we also have a parking lot just in case there are some things that we can't get to, or we need to, where did it go? There it is. That will be picked up at a later time to review as a topic or a subject that we haven't finished, we don't know the answers to, etc. Okay, so let's go.
Liz, can I just interrupt you quickly?
Absolutely.
I just wanted to let you know that I talked to all of the other rooms and I wanted this room to hear it as well. Marcia, when just as we were getting ready to go out to our breakout rooms, suggested that we include part of our conversation, that part of our conversation include the transportation from the temporary evacuation point to the shelter. So if you would like to have conversation about that piece of the scenario, I kind of left it out. I thought we were already at the shelter, but if you want to have that conversation about transportation, certainly it's a good one to have. And,
oh, Cindy,
it's
one of the most difficult ones in Santa Clara County. It is.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, thank you for increasing that.
And that can include, not just how do I get there if you had been dropped off at the temporary evacuation point, but who's giving me directions to the new place, or where am I getting another ride? And when I get there, where do I go? So it's all about directions and signage and then getting inside.
Well, thank you for adding that.
Yeah, so it's just, it's a lot, but it's not. Once you only have to think about it once, and once you have a process in place, then you don't have to worry about that anymore.
We'll see about that. All right, so in our first area, who do you turn to and what do you need? Remember,
Robin. I have Robin here with 2 sticky notes. Who selected Robin?
I think 2 people did. I selected Robin. I'm on the green sticky note.
Okay. Could you provide us your summary from your persona?
Yeah, so Robin just recently had an injury, so she is using crutches. So I said, you know, I call up my friend, it's in the middle of the night, but she's not answering. I don't know what to do, but I'm in pain and I wasn't able to get my pain medication out when I left the building. So right now I need my pain medication.
And Robin, number 2.
So that was me. Essentially, I said what I would need. I would need help standing. So sorry, I had to walk away really quick and come back. When I get to the shelter, I would basically need maybe possibly medical assistance, because during that evacuation, you know, you don't know if you're going to get trampled or how fast people are moving. You know, I may have fallen. Also, I kind of took the scenario as I didn't live with anyone. So I would hope that I have a neighbor that would be able to assist me, you know, down the stairs and walking to the shelter site.
Great, thank you. Maria.
Perfect.
Each company is different and they do not have any charging cords or batteries that are interchangeable. So yes, we do have a big problem for Pedro. Thank you. Next. Paul, you want to step in there?
Sure. So I'm Donald. I have a pit bull.
Oh dear.
And unfortunately, this guy can get aggressive because I've bought the pit bull because I think dogs should be able to defend property and attack people who are threats.
Oh, that's so kind of you.
I'm concerned that, and in fact, the people around me seem to be concerned. I'm not really concerned, but they seem to be concerned that my dog represents a threat to them. And also I have a really strong need for air conditioning, so I just can't go out on the street. So I'm going to ask the people at that.
Read more about Xander. Okay, 20 anxiety. Okay.
So Robin's on crutches due to a recent accident. Who do you turn to? Gonna need some kind of mobility assistance. Yeah, Marcia needs housing, legal, interpreter.
This is interesting. I'm 15 years old, have COVID, a service dog for my sight impairment. If I'm, I don't even know where I would start. I mean, if I had COVID.
I'm just going to say, Norma, you're in trouble. That's all there is to it.
Damn.
You know, we threw the COVID thing in at the last minute, and boy, did it.
Oh, I can blame you for that.
Sure, no problem. Eddie did.
See, that's what I get for wanting to be 15 again.
There you go.
I mean, for a lot of these people, you know, what I think is likely to happen is they're going to manage to get to the temporary evacuation point and from there to the shelter, and they're going to show up at the shelter with all of these needs. Yes. And I don't know how it's managed in Santa Clara. In Marin, you know, our shelters are run by Health and Human Services and maybe Red Cross. But I would presume there's going to be sort of an intake process where people are going to line up and express all of their needs. You know, the young woman with COVID is going to have to keep her distance and, you know, immediately be ushered off someplace else. Marin Humane in our case works with Red Cross and Office of Emergency Services to try to set up shelters where people can keep their animals.
And in Santa Clara County, we do have an animals and disasters plan, and the county animal shelter is, I believe, at this point anyway, in charge of setting up animal shelters next to human shelters, next to Red Cross shelters, so that people don't have to be separated from their animals, but can actually, unless it's a service animal, not have them in the shelter itself. And yeah, you're right. As far as the COVID thing is concerned, Norma, you're going to have to go sit by yourself someplace, because
Get the private suite.
You do. And who are you going to turn to? What kind of
exactly? I'm wondering
how. Need a lot.
Yeah.
And Coles with Sander, speak quietly. Separate areas, best as possible. Yeah.
I've had my entry disappear twice.
I can see it. It's on
No,
our
I had
screen.
my entry disappear too, so I wrote it again.
On 3? On slide 3?
Are you on page 3?
Yeah.
Did you click save, Cole?
Yeah.
Once you type the sticky note, you have to click save.
I did twice. This little guy's doing some things right, I mean.
So is your sticky note say Cole with Sander?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can see it. I don't know why you can't see it.
It says speak quietly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, I won't re-enter it.
I don't know why you can't see it.
Weird.
Yeah, we've got it. Okay, so who do you turn to and what do you need?
Oh, geez.
Linda, let me see if I can make a sticky note for you. What were you going to say, and who are you?
You can't see my sticky notes?
I can't see yours.
Mine's Marcia.
Oh, you're Marcia. I can see yours. I just didn't see Linda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't put my name.
It's all right. It's all right. Yeah.
So we on to the next question. Did you just say where do we go from here, or no? Or
Right. That's part of this screen.
Okay. So slide 4?
No, it's the second half of slide 3.
Oh, second half of slide 3.
Still, second half of slide 3 still says, what do you need?
Oh, I see. I mean, really, legal assistance. I need an interpreter. It's being undocumented and losing a house. Can I own a house? Who's owning this house?
Being undocumented?
Mm-hmm.
Might be one of the catches in this scenario you might have to just kind of play with, because I mean, I certainly, being homeless and losing your house don't play well together, do they?
No, they don't.
Maybe your tent was behind the apartment complex or something. I don't know. I don't know what
or maybe it's a family member owns it. It's still her house. There could
maybe
be
you're staying with someone on their couch, or
yeah. I mean, she could also.
Okay. Anything else about slide 3? Who do you turn to? What do you need for your CMIS persona? Okay, good. Let's go to slide 4. Where do we go from here?
is anybody going to call their family? Or
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm calling my
Yeah.
family.
yeah, if you have one.
Yep.
I know one of the things in one of the fires that I responded to when I was working as emergency manager for Santa Clara County, one of the big things that we found in the shelter was people were wanting to know what happened to their animals. So if you got out and you didn't get your cat with you, you're probably going to want to know where your cat is. And we had, and we were inundated. We had to do a full phone bank of people answering the phones for the animal shelter because people were calling 3, 4, 5 times a day trying to find out what happened to their cat. And it was just duplicating we were writing down all of those requests, and we were sending people to those houses to look for cats and to look for the animals. But it got really difficult because we did a lot of repetitious looking for the same cat because the person called 3 or 4 times in one day. But you may be calling animal control to see if someone can go and find out what's happened to your cat if you have a cat.
Tool that we've located and partnered with Santa Cruz on is called Vision Link.
Mm-hmm.
So people can work with one registration point, and all resources can go to that one registration point. And I think that's possible to be extended to pets as another way to help the duplication you just talked about, Cindy.
Yeah.
If we can just get our pros to share and we get through the HIPAA baloney. Old school guy here. I'm just sorry. I'm an old farmer. I don't need a piece of paper. I need a handshake. I need eyes on eyes, and I'm good.
Okay, so most everybody said go to a relative or family member. Are any of the personas have no family members?
We can make mine.
We
not
can,
have any
we can
family member.
assume, we can assume.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I said try to call friends. You know,
Coworkers, maybe.
in Donald's case, right? He's vegan. He needs to be in a temperature controlled environment. He's got a Doberman pit bull. I can't remember, but you know, a dog that not everybody's comfortable with. I wonder what sort of connection there could be at a shelter with nonprofits that might be able to help individuals like him, right? The county can only do so much. Red Cross can only do so much. They're really trying to care for mass evacuations.
Yep.
And so these kind of one-off situations, you know, it might be interesting to come up with a plan similar to various feeding plans where there are individual organizations that can help individuals with particular needs, right? Get them off to a shelter because that organization might be able to get disaster response funding, you know.
Abundantly sized and needs chairs that aren't going to squish, but you know, Xander being younger than I am, he is at this point, doesn't need to have sides to the chair.
And emergency caregivers available. Maria, medical care area with personal protective equipment. And Robin, keep extra supply of meds in my purse or go bag in case I need to evacuate. Great. Xander, staff of the shelter should be mindful with obese furniture. So furniture for larger people. Yes. Okay. And I'm going to pull this over here. And that is, we got Maria, have an area for unattended minors with a clear person in authority and minimal span of control. Good. All righty, let's go to the next one. And if you want to add, just go back on your own screen and add more. Next question is, what resources could assist with needs identified? What resources could assist with the needs identified? Where could you go, or where could the shelter operators and volunteers go to assist with the resources? What resources could assist with needs identified? Okay, I just put up one to get us started, and we've got also here Susie's Maria, Child Protective Services, American Red Cross, faith-based organizations. Great. Pedro, CADRE might be able to find me a portable battery charger and an emergency caregiver. Again, that's coordinating with our nonprofits in the area. Robin, Sherry Lynn says, coordinate with Department of Transportation or County VTA for transportation of shelter residents. Absolutely. Other thoughts, other resources. All right, we got some more here. Let's bring them down. Xander, organizations connect me with food and snacks, quiet room at shelter, place to stay. Great. Pedro, coordinate with local places of worship in the Bill Wilson Center for counseling services. Robin, coordinate with a local pharmacy to get prescriptions refilled. Robin, Catholic Charities might be able to provide passenger vans to offer transportation to nearby friends, family, and pharmacy. Absolutely. Donald, Humane Society can assist with pets after disaster. Nonprofits who can provide variety of meals to accommodate different needs. Absolutely. Let's bring this one down here. We have Maria. National Guard and Reserve medical and site support. Yep. Any other thoughts? Okay, let's go to the next frame. Oh, that's our parking lot. Other comments, suggestions, and ideas shared. Does anybody want to add anything else here that we didn't cover during the questions as far as other ideas, suggestions?
Now might be a good time to talk about the transportation thing if you haven't already.
Sure. Language barriers. Yep.
I think it's kind of the reason we're here, but one of the things we notice is that proper prior planning, and that's the whole point, right? If we think about these things beforehand, then we have the resources in place that can alleviate and mitigate the issues that we're seeing. And so that's kind of really the whole game, obviously, in emergency management is you can't necessarily tell what the exact issue is going to be, but if you plan for what could be, then you have solutions, or you have ideas for the directions of your solutions.
Exactly. And planning ahead means that you've got all of those communication pieces in place, MOUs, mutual aid, discussions ahead of time with the organizations of that we're going to need you to assist. And so you're not scrambling and trying to make those arrangements during the disaster. Okay, let's see. We've got a couple of things here. So we had the language barriers. I added
Cindy's point, transportation. How did we get to the shelter? Did emergency managers and responders have MOUs in place with Valley Transit Authority and paratransit or TNCs like Uber and Lyft to transport people without their own vehicles? What are some thoughts here? The language barriers would mean having interpreters, having folks that can speak other languages that are assisting at the shelter. What about signage? Any other thoughts? What are some takeaways, like Susie, you were saying, of having plans in place? Power needs bad to overwhelm the grid and have another emergency. Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Yep. Like our county's Golden Eagle exercises last week, we had 2 disasters. It started with an earthquake, and then 2 days later, we had a massive fire breakout in the Los Gatos Hills. So there were 2 things going on simultaneously, and that is a real probability. Certainly, we know from the massive 1906 earthquake was that the fire destroyed much more than the original earthquake destroyed. Any other thoughts? Okay.
So just a little sidebar, anybody know what the main disorder or complaint was that was received at the hospital after the Northridge earthquake? Anybody know what the main complaint was that
the
people
main
showed up
complaint
at
or
the
issue?
hospital? Just yell it out.
No. What does
It
everybody
was-
think?
I don't
Maybe
know, but I would think broken bones.
No.
Or communication in terms of the level of trauma patients to be sent to different hospitals.
The main complaint that people showed up at the hospital with was cut feet. That disaster happened at, I think, 4 o'clock in the morning. And when the ground shook and their lamps fell off their nightstands and their windows broke and all those things, people jumped out of bed, ran to the door barefooted, and cut the bottoms of their feet and went directly to the hospital and overwhelmed hospitals with cut feet.
And such an easy thing to have mitigated.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know about you, but I have an old pair of tennis shoes under the bed right next to where I get out of bed, so I could grab those quickly and throw them on my feet if I needed to.
And I have an extra pair of tennis shoes I keep in my trunk along with my disaster supplies too, because
Same.
sometimes I'm wearing heels or dress shoes, and that doesn't do very well if you're having to walk maybe perhaps several blocks or a couple of miles, or, you know, need to help other people evacuate from where you are. So having a good sturdy pair of shoes is important.
One of the comments I heard a speaker talk about 9/11, and one of the comments they made was that the stairwells became unpassable. People trying to evacuate those towers became unpassable because the women were wearing high heels, and as they were walking down those stairs, flight after flight after flight, their feet started hurting and they started taking their shoes off, and then they clogged up the stairwells with women's heels and men.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. And let's see, I think we have everyone back in the main room at this point. And so let's go ahead and hear a little bit of key takeaways. Did you have any aha moments or kind of key takeaways from your discussion, and let's start with Rich's room. Do you have a spokesperson, Rich?
Yes, we do. It's going to be a team effort, but primarily Marisol is going to be our spokesperson.
So for our group, for question number 1, can you receive the message? Primarily, everyone received the message except for Maria, who Maria and Eddie didn't receive the message. And
Brigitte.
And Bridget, yes, and Bridget. Sorry, I'm trying to go through the notes. And Xander, Robin, they received the alert, and Eddie did not receive the message.
Marisol, what kind of key takeaways did your group have?
For our
Just
group,
a couple of key takeaways.
So what we highlighted was that predominantly in our group, the group have not heard of CMS, the CMS framework. And so what we learned is that it's a good framework to include in our planning efforts. Behavioral health is currently working on their DOC, so coming to and working through the different barriers and challenges with the personas will help them build their DOC for to include CMS framework. Those are a few of the highlights that I have written down. Anyone else in the group want to share something else?
Okay, let's go ahead and go to Liz and Marcia's room. And then Ginny, your room will be up next.
Francie's are reporting off to answer those questions.
Just some key takeaways, Francie.
Okay, I think we got some good things to work on later. The first thing that came up in the first slide was that the evacuation site that was chosen was not very good. It wasn't really accessible. It was a small parking lot, and it wasn't really suitable for all those people to go there and be taken care of. So we thought maybe we would suggest like working ahead of time to make a list of the best evacuation points in each area so that there wouldn't have to be discussion at that time, because once it's been chosen and stated, it can't change really. Another one was, probably it would be loaned by, the job would be owned by the local government, the city first, if it's a small thing. And how soon would they call the Red Cross to come and help with, looking at the situation and who needs medication, who needs referrals to other places. We might remind them to call the Red Cross right away if there's any temporary evacuation point, just to inform us that it's happening. And then we could let the other agencies know. The person with COVID, we were going to ask the Department of Health, what would they say to somebody like that, that's 15 and sick with COVID and at home? Because does she, how does she evacuate? Does she get in a car with somebody else? Does she, even with a mask? We just wanted to get advice. What would they tell somebody to do at that time? Who should she call to get safely out? And I think we also learned that if you call Alert SCC, that a deaf person will automatically, if they've signed up for the federal communication relay program, that they automatically receive it translated into ASL on their screen. I didn't know that. So those are the things we learned in our session.
Great, thank you, Francie. Ginny, who's reporting out for your room?
It's me. So in our group, we noticed a trend with all the personas that we picked, and that was their independence was heavily impacted by this evacuation notice. They all in some way needed to rely on somebody either to get the notice or to actually evacuate once the notice was received. And we had a larger discussion about what we could do to improve and focus a lot about what needs to be done before an emergency actually occurs, there are ways that we could connect to other resources. That way, organizations that do welfare checks when an emergency occurs, they would know better resources to call upon if they do have to support some of their clients in an evacuation. We also got really lucky in that we did have somebody very familiar with sending out alert SEC messages. And so we got to talk about that and how we could better improve registration to alert SEC so people are receiving notices, how alert SEC itself could be more narrowly focused when sending out this type of message so that only the people who really do need it are receiving it.
All right, awesome report. Thank you, Jenny. And Sherry for the main room, do you have the report out for us?
Yeah, I didn't get to that asking for a volunteer, so I'll start off. And if any of my participants in my room would like to chime in, that would be great. Really appreciate it. So very similar to what Jenny was sharing is that, you know, when we rely a lot on other people and sometimes on devices, could be durable medical equipment or assistive technology devices for our independence in, you know, every aspect of life. And when those are not there or taken away from us, is that it really does cause barriers that we normally wouldn't experience. So some of the things we came up with that were barriers were personal of you know, responsibility of talking about how we need as individuals who have a specific access and functional need would need to, you know, go the next step and participate in a CERT or NERT training, trying to maybe even coordinate within our neighborhoods to have that done ahead of time so that those relationships were set up of what skills I have as well as what particular needs I have. Outside of that, working to establish relationships with other folks. Even for Manny, living in an encampment is having relationships with other encampment mates to help each other out, to offer support. And then, you know, some of these things can be addressed with planning at the emergency responder level and with our emergency services, like to make sure that we have trained staff at the evacuation point to assist with our finding resources with various needs, make sure that there are volunteers or emergency responders to guide people of how to get to the McDonald's. There was several people who had no idea how to get to the McDonald's parking lot. And was there an accessible route to get there if they use a mobility device or crutches? So making sure, again, that there's folks there to help assist along the way. Having an accessible transportation arrangement set up. So if that was a temporary site, then we would need transportation to get wherever to the more long-term sheltering site. Making sure there's multiple ways to provide the alerts and notify residents of an emergency, not just one system in place, but as you know, Cindy said in the beginning, you know, making sure you're getting that alert in the languages that are that they are at least covering the languages that are the threshold languages for our area, to make sure that you have the text, speech to text for those that are deaf or hard of hearing, those kinds of things, and knocking on doors and all of that kind of stuff. Is that there's multiple things that need to be in place, both personally as well as community-wise.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Sherry. And thank you to everyone who participated. If there were other key takeaways that you heard in your room, either for you personally or within your roles as an organization, feel free to put a couple of remarks in the chat for us of key takeaways or aha moments for you individually that your spokesperson may not have covered in their remarks, just so we can have as a robust a report out as we possibly can. And so with that, I thank you all for that portion of our program. We want to remind you about what's coming up next with our CADRE Symposium. As I said this morning, there is consider this like a 3-day long conference. So we do have sessions tomorrow morning starting at 9 a.m. We're going to do a very similar discussion exercise that you went through this afternoon. The focus of the morning discussion will be on response relief. And so it'll be a different time period of the disaster, you'll pick personas that might be slightly different than you had today in the program, and you'll have your choice to go into rooms as well. And I'm seeing, okay, I'm not sure if Shanitka wants to speak aloud. Oh, I see that we have input coming in. Sorry, I'm checking the chat. So the session tomorrow will be very similar in the morning to this today's afternoon session. And then starting at 11 a.m., we have a keynote speaker, June Isaacson-Kales, joining us. She's the creator of the CMIST categories and functional assessment service teams. You don't want to miss her remarks. She's a fabulous speaker. And let's see, I'm going to go ahead and launch an evaluation poll that we will have for each of our sessions. If you would please be so kind as to give us your feedback on this afternoon session, to help you recap whether for the first question, it was to engage participants in an interactive discussion using personas to explore how well we are serving the needs of Santa Clara's diverse population, and to gather information and ideas for how we can improve planning and service delivery. So those are your session objectives. And I think I'm going to turn it back to Marcia for some closing comments.
I just want to ask Liz Dietz if she's calling in from a cruise ship or if she's back home.
No, I'm home, you silly woman.
And Marcia popped off my screen. Is Marcia still with us?
I'm here. And I'm
there you go. Sorry.
Even unmuted now. No, but this was a good discussion. I really liked what we talked about in our room, and there are lots of ideas for the problem solving part, and I'm excited about the fact that once this is all documented, we can dive into that problem solving. And tomorrow will be shelter. Tomorrow we get to talk about all of the issues when you're housing people for more than a few minutes. So don't miss that. And what else? Please fill out this poll because we do need your input, good and bad, so that we can improve the next time. And even as we did this presentation, the next one, we're going to make a few tweaks again. So if you come every time, you're going to see how we keep building.
You're going to see us get better and better and better.
Yeah.
Woohoo!